So moving on to the next section, and here we go. One of the basic things, but also one that's really easy to forget, is right here, the shrine. Ranged and siege attack 30%, mounted troop defense, ground troop defense 30%. So those are good buffs to have. So always remember to do that. Going into battle, I always like to be defensive, so I use a Russian culture. This gives me the extra in-city attack, and you are going to lose. I'll lose a small amount of my my attack by not staying Japanese culture. But in the elite tournaments like Shalons, All-Stars, I think it's smarter to be defensive. And then let me touch on Blazons real quick. Click, shrine offer. So Blazons, you have two basic sets, attacking and defense. Defending does give you these buffs here on the bottom in green. Enemy troop attack, -10. Enemy troop defense, -10. And then defending siege attack, defense, and HP, an extra 10. And then each one of these comes with a separate buff, which I don't really get too much into, like starting over with them or any of that. I'm just adding them, and that's it, which I understand. I'm leaving buffs on the table. But for me, I don't want to get too involved with it. For the type of player that I am, I'm not a player that's made finals in All-Stars and needs to rank really high. Like, I basically just played to get the dragons. And then you can refine them as well. So when they reach level 20, you do have the option to cultivate them and get more buffs that way. There's a lot that goes into Blazons, and I'm not super educated in them. I just basically just upgrade them. So that's probably not a video for me to make. But I just wanted to touch on it because it is important for your keep in these battlefields. And if you're in a battlefield where, you know, you're kind of like running over people and you're able to just attack, then by all means, then switch them to attacking buffs, to the attack set instead of the defense set. Talents, I don't know what's the exact right way to do it, but basically my level 2 talents are my more attacking PvP set. And my other one's more for like my resources. It's got resources critical. It's for killing boss monsters, stuff like that. So this one here is my PvP setup. The first one, that is my growth setup. So just touch on that real quick. Always make sure you got your right talents. Skills become super crucial, especially as you are developing more All-Star Dragons. A lot of important stuff here. Research, construction. The ones that are in the pasture are tend to lean more towards your growth and speeding stuff up and stuff like that. Healing speed, that's what makes him really good. Training, and this dragon is probably one of my favorites. His skill, not super special, but if you look at him and look at what he brings, he's a debuff dragon. There's no other place for him to be except in a sub-city. Because when he came out, people were disappointed, and they were like, "Oh, he's not a good dragon for killing boss monsters or calf PvP." And I was like, if you look at him, he wasn't made for that at all. So that's why he's not good at that. Is he wasn't designed for that. Then as you go in here, you know, all these got. This one's all troops attack, and then they cut your defense if you do use them for attack. in-city troop HP, you know, all these skills become vastly important, especially if you're playing at an elite level. You're going to need all this. But I'll go into some more stuff about the dragons here in a bit. Let's go to the cards. For me, the cards, this is like it's a little something extra. Like, you get these buffs and different things from them. So you can go in and you'll get this extra stuff. You know, it's small buffs, but as you claim them, it does start to add up. So, with that being said, the cards are significant. Geez, do I get all these claimed? Almost. No, about half. So the cards, it's all little extra buffs that add up. I don't do any of the decomposing. I don't do any of that other stuff. If I'm honest, what I basically do is just go in and pretty much with Blazons, I just add them and, you know, hope that I get something out of it. Our treasure becomes super relevant just because this is a lot of extra buffs that come your way. Kind of like the champions. It adds a lot of stuff. So it's basically keep plugging away. Keep joining rallies, whatever you got to do to get these scrolls to keep advancing them. But these are all good stuff, and they kind of cover everything from, you know, resource production, buffs, the whole ball of wax. They kind of cover everything. And I've got 2 that I don't have open yet, which at this stage of the game, that just may be something that doesn't happen for me. But I feel like I am really close to the end. Anyway, for me, Coronation Fountain is something that is a bit newer. Coronation Fountain gives you certain buffs. Each one's different. I did the HP first. Me and a teammate of mine, HBL, he kind of like, because I was doing a little bit on each one, and he showed me that he was just focusing just on one at a time, and that's when I decided, yeah, you know, it would be a good idea just to go for the HP and then the attack and then the defense and then just move forward. So that's what I've done. And again, not huge buffs, but it's an extra 10% attack. You know, it's an extra 15% HP. So with that being said, those are all extra, just extra free buffs that are there, and it doesn't cost you anything. You just do the Ranger event. You can buy the packs, and I honestly have bought 2 packs, and I kind of regret doing it. So get the free buffs and just slow roll it. Okay, so now I'm kind of cut down to kind of the nitty grit. Civ gear, your debuffs, your subs, your actual gear on your wall general, and I'll go into wall generals a little bit. Skill books and refines. So first, subs. I've got kind of a wide range. Mainly gold rushes, and I've got 1 gold Japan, and then a few that I won in Shalons when I was with the Alliance 1. We had a pretty good run there for a minute. Now, your debuffs. A lot of people do things differently, and a lot of people, and I did it too, like early on, you're trying to debuff everything. You're like, oh, I'm going to be even across the board. I'm going to debuff everything. But we'll go in and we'll look at the generals. And this is what I do, and to me it makes sense. I was kind of leaning this way, then I watched a Viper video, and he put it simply, who's going to rally me with ground unless it's, you know, I'm about to die. So I took that concept and ran with it. Heavy on the Baldwin. I got 3 completely maxed out. And then I used to have, I do have 3 John Carroll. I like him because he debuffs siege HP, and he does a fair amount of it throughout his ascension. But also as a bonus, he's cutting mounted troop attack. So with that being said, you can compensate not having a general specific for cav attack debuff. Because this is my philosophy. I'm built strong siege, and I want my siege to survive as long as possible, and my mounted to survive as long as possible. So with that being said, your idea is you need to debuff siege stats and range stats as much as possible. And that's where Baldwin comes into play. And I'm going to tackle a couple things here at the same time. So with this one, you see I've got mixed. I don't believe in H sets anymore. There's a lot of good Civ gear. That's great on a sub, but also, and I'll give you guys my secret as to why my debuff is so high. So this is a really, really good piece right here. Range and siege machine HP debuff, -60, and then you get range troop attack, -50, which Bourbon Armor is one of the few pieces of gear, Civ or otherwise, that does debuff archer attack. So that's a bonus right there. Then the Augustus gear 2-set piece takes 10% enemy troop attack off. Always 2 pieces, never any more, never any less, because you want to get as many of these 2-set buffs as possible. And the boots are pretty good. Range and siege attack, -41. Ground troop defense, -36. But I placed it for the range and siege attack debuff. One thing with Augustus, I don't recommend the chest armor or the bracers because I don't think that they're very good for the type of debuffing that I'm angling to with this one. So what this one does is this one is compensating the ground and mounted debuffs. So that's why I say, like, this one is okay. It's not great, but it's okay. And then this gear is just crucial, especially as you get bigger. You're going to get sieged a lot. Enemy siege machine HP debuff 60% when it's completely ascended. So this is what I've chosen to do. Debuff that stuff as much, debuff the siege and the archer as much as possible. And then this is the secret weapon. So even if you don't have Civ gear, but you can make Ares. I forget if this is fearless or courageous, but all you have to do is look in and see enemy ranged attack, enemy siege attack, -34. Once you upgrade it to the majestic, and not counting Civ gear, this is the only chest piece that does debuff ranged attack. And as a bonus, it debuffs both range and siege attack. So that's the secret weapon for me. The fact that it's the one piece that does debuff the archer attack, so I can split up H sets and it's not really hurting me. Romulus, really, really good gear. If you can, and you're focusing on defense, like, you absolutely need to get these 2 pieces. The debuff is good. Range and troop, range and siege defense, range and siege HP, -25. Enemy range troop attack, -30. So, like, the helmet's really, really good. And then, again, with this one, siege HP, siege defense, range and siege attack. And with a 2-piece set, 15% all troop debuff. So, like, this one's my biggest secret. This is just extra debuff that you can get that you can't get anywhere else, aside from Civ gear. So, a little combo. What did I do with this one? Because I've got one Romulus. Oh, I think I placed it because it's good. Range HP, range defense, and then enemy siege attack. But it says enemy troop HP, so I must... Okay, so I've got 2 Romulus, and then I stuck this one here because my thought process was, I don't know what my thought process was. I thought this debuffed siege. Ground and mounted troop attack, enemy ground troop and mounted troop HP. So I'm going to pull that one off because that is not helping me. Not even a little. Enemy ground troop and mounted troop attack, enemy ground. So let us switch you to something better. What do you do? Huh. I have no idea what I did there. But whatever I did, it was wrong. I'll go back and fix that at a later date. Enemy ground troop and mounted troop. And enemy ground troop and mounted troop. Yeah, so I'm gonna move that off and I'll do something with it, I guess. But yeah, you see it across the board, and this is what I have done. Is it's a mix. Everything's a mix. There's no full H set here at all. And then as I've gotten bigger and the buffs have gotten higher, I've gone to all Parthian bows, which cuts siege machine attack. So as far as refines on subs, I wouldn't recommend doing that until you're at least pumping out T12 or T13. T13 would be better. Troops, and then I would focus HP. The attack, the other stuff, maybe not as important, but you just want as many troops to survive as possible, because you need them. You need troops to debuff, or you can't debuff. It's simple enough, right? As far as sub-generals right now, I would say this guy, Zudai, is probably for the type of debuffing I do. If you're focused on the same things I am, he is by far the best. And then Simone is also very, very good. Monso. So maybe what I should do is I move that piece. I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move that piece onto here. And then at least that way I get... Oh, no, that doesn't help either. Okay. So that, for the most part, has covered, debuffs and the gear I wanted to talk about and some of the civ gear that I use. And then finally, I'm going to go into the wall general. Now this is super crucial. I think a lot of players don't realize how important the small details are. And on your wall general, super, super crucial. So the first thing I'll say is, this is what I do. Don't write that down. Don't hack my account, you bitches. So what I did is I got the numbers as close to 500 as I could, and then I just did the jackpot on the HP. As in my opinion, Leo III is a really old general. But he's built even across the board. You go through his ascension, he buffs everything, every troop type in all areas. And the new guy does as well, but the new guy does it at a much higher level. So the new guy is great. Zhao is freaking awesome. In my opinion, the best wall general in the game, probably bar none. So I jackpotted the HP. Now, as far as the skill books, I don't believe in attack books. I believe HP is king, and then I add HP and defense books, just to make the survivability of my troops much higher. So you won't find any attack books. I got mounted HP. I've got siege range. I don't know if it works, but I'm willing to take the chance on it. Archer range bonus, I got that on there as well. But that's my opinion, is you should have HP books. Make your stuff survive as long as possible. Be hard to kill. Siege HP, ground HP, and then I went siege defense just to make that siege stronger. I did use Champlain as my assistant just to keep pushing that siege to the highest level possible. But I need to go through the numbers. I think Drake is now better than him. So that's something I'm going to look into right after I finish these videos. So we're going to go in the gear. A lot of big keeps are doing this whole thing with all flats, all cav flats. And a lot of people are following them. Here's my issue with that. If you have all cav flats and you don't have all the duty officers completely maxed, you don't have sub-generals completely maxed, you don't have everything like the whales do have, you're giving up buffs and you're just offering up all your other troops. If you consider it, you are only buffing your low-tier cav troops, and that's it. Because I've seen reports from keeps that are supposed to be good keeps, and your siege gets run through. Your cav gets run through down to about tier 7 or 8. Oh, you can build a bunch of troops. Sure, you can build troops, and it's going to be harder for them to get through the layers, for sure. But ultimately, in those cases, most times, you're a liability because you're going negative in many cases. And if you don't go negative on the first or second one, once they clear through your higher tier cav that have the higher HP and the higher defense, they're going to take a big chunk once they get through those. So, what do I do? And this is just my opinion. This is the way I see it. So, with the leg armor, I went all HP on siege to make it survive better. And then with this one, I did all percentages and then mounted troop HP percentage, just because those are the first two tiers they need to clear. They need to clear my siege, and then they need to clear my horses. Attack, I don't think flats are smart for attack. I don't see the point in it. I think you should buff up what troops of yours are going to do your killing for you. So you need to decide, what kind of keep am I going to be? What am I going to buff? And again, here, this is all siege attack, and I went all siege attack and one ranged. Defensively, I'm adding survivability to my siege and to my ground. And again, same thing with this one as well. So in my opinion, and I'm a 50 billion power keep, so we keep that in mind as well. So this is what I did, is I did my ground and mounted HP on this dragon, because you can get the full flat refines that you can get on gear, you can get on this dragon. So that's why I put those two there, and then doubling down on the mounted HP just to make those calves survive a little better. And when I get into, I'm doing a third video on report reading. When I get into that, I can explain that a wee bit when we look at some of the reports, because I've noticed something that seemed to me that wasn't happening before, and it is happening now. So it's something new. I feel like it's new that I've discovered, or I've just missed it this whole time. So that goes into the refines. Choreo gear is probably one of few where you want to have a full set. I believe in full choreo, and I believe in full high-end. And for small siege, probably that new set, because you notice there are some flats that come with it. So I think there's value in that as well. And then just real quick, actually, I don't know if there's a real quick to this. That might be it. And then the troop build, right? So, but let me go through and explain. See, when you go through all of Leo's Ascension, you see that he does buff all the troops in all areas. It's just not at a super, super high level, but he does what I need him to do. I'm getting buffs on all troops and really heavy on the siege. Now, when we get into build, I'll just touch on some things real quick. You want to have a setup similar to this. You you can build out your high tiers later as you start to, get to the point where you're able to do that and live to tell the story. But I've kind of stuck with what I call the waterfall build. So my T15s they're kicking between 8 and 10 mil. And then, each layer that goes down, I build bigger and bigger and bigger to help support the tier above it. So, and then certain key points like against siege, I'm gonna recommend against siege, if you have 15s, I would say a lot of 14s to support it, and a lot of 13s because they'll kill a lot. And then as we go down against, so that's against siege, right? These thick layers up top to help protect those high layers. And I've still got some building to do. My 12 should be higher, my 11 should be higher. But then also, so now when archer rallies are coming, there's a few key tiers to focus on. T11 siege, T10 siege will kill a lot, T9 siege. So in my opinion, 9 through 11 is crucial to have thick layers. The more you have, the quicker they're going to kill off the archer rally. And then as far as cav, like I have built up cav layers. They're still not where they need to be, but I have bulked them up a little bit. I've added 14s are significantly higher, about 6 million more than the 15s. And basically what it is, the high HP and buffing it with skill books and refines, it makes it harder for them to dig through. It's the same concept as the 1 billion T1s, except now we're working with percentages and it's a much higher number. So we start to add in numbers to this high tier cav. And then tiers T9 through T11 on your cav is super crucial, and you see the difference that I've got significantly more. 30 million of each. That is a tip that was given to me by YBE a long time ago when we were still friends, and it worked well. It worked almost immediately, because if they get through the high tier, they get through everything through the 12s. Tiers 11 through 9 are definitely going to stop it, unless it's a massive, like 130, 140 million troop rally with elite buffs. They might dig beyond that, but since I have added these, I have not had a report where it did do that. Archer, I've got some work to do on. I mean, Archer kills cav, and high HP on Archer will help them survive against a siege rally that's being sent to kill your archers. So it may help as far as the survivability there. So I know I need more archers, but I'm kind of saving up for upgrades to get to K45. So, and ground is great. Ground has the highest HP of any troop type. So if you've got good ground layers on top, which I need to work on those too, I'd like to see this one at least 15 million 14s and 20 million 13s and 25 to 30 million 12s. So your troop build does become important. And, through the middle, you want to have thick layers. And at the bottom, of course. So, I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, you want thick layers from top to bottom. And then look at your reports and see what troops of yours are doing the best against certain rallies. And look at the troop types and just build towards that. Build towards what you're seeing that, is good or it's they're doing a lot as far as stopping the rally. Which I'm going to go through a little bit more of troop build stuff, layers, defenses, and we'll look at some reports. And we'll look at some reports from All-Star. And I will do that here shortly.